Don't worry, this is not a doom and gloom video about the game failing. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how the story of Warcraft will end, and I don't just mean World of Warcraft, I mean Warcraft itself, the IP. The reason why I bring this up is that Blizzard did something quite interesting recently. They actually established the ultimate evil in the Warcraft universe. If you think that's Sargeras, you're actually wrong. This has been done in-game, but the best source of this information is the 2015 book Warcraft Chronicles. Or maybe it's 2016. Anyway, most of us had thought that Sargeras and the Burning Legion were the primary evils in World of Warcraft, and you know, Sargeras is basically the devil, whatever. And then we thought that the old gods and stuff like that, they were just a group of bosses that we came up against from time to time, and yeah, they had some lore, but it didn't matter that much. Well, according to this book, the old gods are ammunition, fired across space to infect and destroy every planet in the universe. Now, ammunition does not fire itself, so who, or indeed what, is responsible for spreading these things all over the universe? Well, the answer to that question, according to Warcraft Chronicles, is the Void Gods. You might be wondering, what is a Void God? You might also be thinking, hang on a second, isn't that Warlock pet? No, and they're actually the ultimate evil of the Warcraft universe, as recently was established by Blizzard, and they are in fact the primary enemy of the Burning Legion. Yep, we're not the primary enemy of the Burning Legion. Basically, the Void Gods have been having trouble taking a physical form. Through lore that I explain in this video, well, I mean this video, it's in one of these corners, they instead decided to infect the universe with creatures which we call the Old Gods. Long ago, their primary enemy was the Titans. The origin of the Titans is quite strange. Their first stage of life is a thing called a world soul, which is inside a planet. These world souls are then woken up by the sort of awakened Titans, and this is partially why they were traveling across the cosmos, ordering planets, waking up these world souls. During this time, the largest problem that they dealt with was that old gods would infect these planets, and it would be impossible to then, save the world soul and get rid of the old god infestation. Pretty much a big problem. This eventually led Sargeras, who was one of the ruling pantheon, to cleave one of these worlds in two, which destroyed both the world soul, but of course also the old god infestation. This led to him becoming a bit delusional with the other Titans. They weren't getting along, and he generally was just not happy with his whole goal of ordering the universe. He saw futility in it all. So he decided to create the ultimate army by wiping out the Titans, their creations, and then unifying the universe in chaos, or, something grandiose like that. I think that it's some sort of commentary on Blizzard's part in the overall kind of pointlessness of order, as entropy will always prevail, regardless of what we do. So now that the lovely depressing bit of the video is done with, let's talk about the ultimate villain of the World of Warcraft universe. So what spurred on this video was me thinking about what we know the current sort of ultimate villain is, and what they would do if they were to make a Warcraft 4, which is a humongous if, and probably isn't even that likely. Now, I kind of realized that it isn't exactly possible to do a Warcraft 4 based on what we've got right now. The current storylines are so heavily rooted in how the MMO works. Additionally, we don't have that many big threats left, so it really all depends on how long it takes for them to get us to this plot line about stopping the Void Lords from taking their physical form, because once we take out the Legion, I assume then nobody will be left to resist the spread of old gods and these Void Lords or Void Gods, whatever, from taking their physical form. Now, all that Army of the Light stuff that was prophesized is happening right now on Argus, as was revealed in a cinematic at the start of Legion. We will be going to Argus and presumably dealing with the whole thing in patch 7.3. Now in 7.2, we'll see the death of the avatar of Sargeras and Kil'jaeden. That's on top of Archimonde already being dead, and I guess, yes, like demon, spirit, resurrection, plot device stuff sort of aside. With the Legion dealt with on Azeroth, all we have to deal with then is Azshara and N'Zoth. Past that, we're pretty much all out of known villains bar the old gods, and who knows how we're actually going to deal with them. Now, when Vanilla came out, we had a long list of major plot threads, locations, and villains from Warcraft 3 and its expansion, The Frozen Throne. Blizzard promptly chewed their way through that list, perhaps not expecting World of Warcraft to last for as long as it did, which makes sense. They were already planning for a second massive MMO in the form of Project Titan, which they, I assume, wanted to be a success of a, similar scale at the very least. Now, I've got to wonder if this is something that the team have been worrying about, given their recent expansion of the lore. and their recontextualization of the overall story with the Void Gods. Think about it, the expansion where we presumably deal with the Legion is also the expansion where they expanded the horizon of the lore to include quite a lot more. Now, I do not think that WoW will stop because they run out of a story. That would be fiscally absurd. Instead, I think they will go down the route of World of Warcraft being more like a serial, a bit like what we've seen them do with the narrative in the more recent expansions of the game, where maybe they're going a bit less plot-based and a bit more character-based. I could also see them doing Warcraft 4 perhaps a decade down the line, and using it as essentially a relaunch of the Warcraft IP. After all, Warcraft 4 pretty much made the IP what it is today. Essentially, they would use this new RTS, or other genre, game to establish new characters, villains, and kickstart what you could almost think of as kind of like Season 2 or Version 2 of Warcraft as an IP. So yeah, they could probably get an expansion out of, flipping a loon, flipping the Naru on their heads. Of course, they'll get some content out of the Azeroth, the Titan. Yes, Azeroth is a planet, but it also has a world soul in it, which is apparently a particularly powerful Titan. But it is clear overall that these Void Gods will have to be dealt with at some point, and when they are, that'll be us taken pretty much to the end of the currently established lore. Every enemy will be dead. What will happen at that point? Is it the end of World of Warcraft? Well, perhaps, the God Emperor of Blizzard will return, everyone's favorite green pickle. He'll come back from retirement and perhaps, do something new, but, more seriously. I think what will probably happen is they'll reach the end of their current narrative and then use some sort of big event to kickstart a new chapter of lore. Perhaps that could be Warcraft 4, do a new RTS, massively expand the lore, do a Warcraft 3, continue on with World of Warcraft. Perhaps they could do another game within the Warcraft IP that isn't Warcraft 4. And of course, there's, flipping things on their head and expanding the field of the narrative out even wider than the Void Gods, though I do think that would start getting quite implausible. Finally, they could do a Pandaria on us, just throw something in completely out of left field. Just that unlike Pandaria, it could be something that would really kick off a massive new era of storytelling within the franchise. But who knows? I'm really interested to hear where you think they'll take the franchise in the future and how you think they'll deal with this problem that they've told us where the end of their planned storyline is. Kind of. They've told us what the ultimate enemy is. And generally when, it's World of Warcraft, you're going to get to that ultimate enemy at some point. What will they do afterwards? I think it's a very, very interesting question indeed, and certainly a task that the World of Warcraft development team will have to deal with, well, within the next decade, but given how successful World of Warcraft tends to be, I think that is probably, and I suppose hopefully, a problem that they will have to deal with at some point. That's it for me, thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.